So the night before it was announced I was going to be Archbishop of New York, I was scared, and I called a very wise woman, my mom. And I said, Mom, I don't know if I'm up to this. I'm kind of scared. This is a big job, New York. And my mom said, well, look, you didn't ask for the job. they must have seen something in you that makes the Pope and your brother bishops think that you can do it. And so just be yourself. And I thought, Mom, not bad. Relax, be at peace, trust in trust in God's grace. So I thought, all right, Lord, you want me to do this? I'll try my best. Without you, I can't do nothing. With you, there's nothing I can't do. And I guess it's worked out okay.
As Archbishop of New York, Cardinal Timothy Dolan has been the face of the Catholic Church in America for the last 17 years. Over the course of his tenure, Dolan has been known for his plain-spoken style, political candor, and willingness to take heat from both the left and the right. Now, as Dolan prepares to step down from his role, I sat down with him to talk about faith, power, politics, and what comes next for him. So, Timothy Cardinal Dolan, thank you so much for joining us today. Yesterday, you officiated Mass, you celebrated Mass at St. Patrick's Cathedral. I don't know how many thousands of times you've done that now as Cardinal. Do you know?
No, I wouldn't. I would say it would be safe, Will, to say that I did it at least 45 times a year.
45
times 17, so whatever that would be.
Whatever that number is.
So I will miss that, if that's what you were asking.
Well, what was it like? How was it different to get up there for the last time as the sitting Archbishop of New York to celebrate that Mass? What was different about it?
And the word you just used, sitting, is somewhat appropriate, because the reason it's St. Patrick's Cathedral is a cathedral is because of the cathedra, which is the Greek word for chair, so the bishop's chair. And so I said goodbye to that chair, and I said, Cathedra, you've been a great seat for 17 years. You've been comfortable, be as comfortable for my successor. And I confess to the people that I will miss very much having Sunday Mass at St. Patrick's. Now, I'll be free to get around to parishes. I've already got a bunch of invitations. Nothing is like St. Patrick's Cathedral. So I will miss it. I don't mind.
It's Yankee Stadium, essentially.
Thank you. Yes. The St. Patrick's is the Yankee Stadium of religion, just like Smith and Walensky's is the St. Patrick's of steaks. I gave them that line.
But you're originally from St. Louis.
St. Louis is my home, right?
Yeah, your career began in the Midwest.
And then I got the call, actually it'll be exactly 17 years this Thursday, February 5th. It was the eve of my birthday. And I got the call to be to come to New York as Archbishop, so...
And now, 17 years later, you feel like such a piece of the firmament of this city. You are such a character of the city. You're so in the heart of the city. You are a great New York character. What was that transition like as a kid coming from the Midwest?
I would have to say that there was some trepidation. Because, see, you have all these stereotypes of New York. So a kid from the Midwest, I'm thinking, oh, I hear they're mean there. Mm-hmm. They're impersonal. They're cold. I hear they're pagans. None of that stuff was true. See, here's something about New York, though. Mm-hmm. A lot of people in New York didn't grow up here.
Yeah.
All right, that's kind of New York-y. So I didn't grow up here, but you get adopted pretty quickly.
Yeah.
And
did you have a moment when you realized that you had been adopted by the city, where you recognized a baseball game, something like that, where you just had a moment like, oh, this is home now?
Yeah. So I was at Yankee Stadium. And they were happened to be playing the Cardinals, which doesn't happen often.
And Cardinals being your team.
The St. Louis team, and always will be, all right? Mm-hmm. And so one of the guys says to me, sitting nearby, says, aren't you Archbishop Dolan? I wasn't a Cardinal. I said, yeah. He said, well, we understand you can root for the Cardinals, so don't you be embarrassed rooting for the Cardinals. And by the way, I hear you like a beer. Can I buy you one? I thought, bingo, I'm home.
What year was that?
That was well, I got here in April. That was probably in July of 2009.
That is a very quick welcome, I feel like, for New York. You fit in real fast.
And here's the deal.
Yeah.
I don't have to stay here.
Yeah.
When I'm retired, I mean, I don't retire from being a priest or a bishop, but I retire from an assignment. I could live anywhere.
Are you going to stay here?
I'm staying here.
Yeah.
By choice, because I want to.
I want to talk about some of your legacy. And in New York, a huge part of it will be your efforts to combat and stop anti-Semitism.
Thank you.
Why is it so important for Catholics and Christians to reject anti-Semitism, to forcefully reject it, to stand up to it, to say this is not acceptable, this is not allowed?
Vigorously to oppose it. First of all, it's a matter of human rights. Okay, so apart from the religious value, which is very important, it's a matter of human rights. The Catholic teaching is built on two pillars, as you would know: the dignity of the human person and the sacredness of human life. All right, those are the two. And to hate somebody because of race or religion is just downright opposed to that. So just from a human rights point of view, this is bad. From a religious point of view, we got to stand with our neighbors. And I don't mind telling you, I'm an historian by training, there have been times in the past that we as Catholics have not risen to the defense of our Jewish neighbors. All right? There's actually times in the past where we've been part of anti-Semitism. And so I'm thinking, we can't let that happen again. So I guess all that together, I just thought I have a duty as the Archbishop of New York to stand with our Jewish neighbors, and thanks for saying that I did.
You embraced that duty at what I would consider a crucial time, because we see that there is an emergence of anti-Semitism that we really haven't seen since the end of the Second World War. There's a component of this on the left. There's a component of this on the right. This is what you said in the Free Press last year. You wrote, "Anti-Semitism is a grave sin, the work of Satan himself. Yet there's now a problem where we have these people who claim to be Catholic, something people like Nick Fuentes, if you're aware of him, these internet personalities. They say that they're Catholic, but they spew horrible anti-Semitic things. What's your message to people who say that they're Catholic, but are embracing that kind of message?"
Listen to Jesus, the rabbi, who said, "Not every person that says, 'Lord, Lord,' is going to get into heaven, but only the ones that do the will of my Father." You may say you're a Catholic. If you're not doing the will of your Heavenly Father, you ain't. And the will of your Heavenly Father is that, darn it, we all get along and treat each other with dignity and respect. So if you're spewing hatred against the Jews, if you're spewing hatred against the unborn baby in the womb, this isn't the will of your Heavenly Father. So you better look long and hard to see if you can, with integrity, claim to be a Catholic.
You have been here in New York, as we talked about, for a very long time. You've been a huge New York figure. You've been the leader of this church in this country. You're being replaced by a fellow named Archbishop Hicks.
Ronald Hicks,
a
Chicagoan, a Cubs fan, has been Bishop of Joliet for the last 5-6 years,
Okay, so he's a Cubs fan. Pope Leo, famously a White Sox fan.
Now, how that got by his desk is beyond me. So,
But there was a lot of talk that during the conclave that chose Pope Leo, that elevated Pope Leo, that you were a huge kingmaker behind the scenes, that you were getting people together, that you were helping Pope Leo's path. You had been described as a kingmaker in the Italian press. Is there any truth to that?
Well, I like to think I had something to do with getting people together, with creating the ambiance of a conclave where people trust one another. If that's true, I'm grateful for it. Whether or not I was a kingmaker when it came to the selection of Pope Leo, I better not comment. I will say I'm grateful for his election, and I'm glad he's there. And I will say this, I get blamed for a lot of stuff I didn't do. I don't mind getting credit for something I might not have done.
I think that's a good way to go through life. I think that's good advice for people. So what was your relationship like with Pope Leo?
With Robert Prevost.
Yes, with Robert Prevost before he...
So I really didn't know him that well.
Mm-hmm.
And I really was not thinking of him. What I knew of him, I heard good things about him. I really, when I thought of Brother American Cardinals, I didn't even think of him. Mm-hmm. And I say that with some shame now, because I'm thinking, boy, Dolan, he was an American Cardinal in Rome, and you never even made any outreach. So I'm just saying I didn't know him that well.
Mm-hmm.
I will tell you this, when I got to Rome for the congregations, which are those daily meetings in the 2 weeks before we go into conclave, one of the first things I was asked by Brother Cardinals is, "Psst, who's this, or who is this Prevost? Mm-hmm. Do you know him? Tell me about him." And I had to say to my Brother Cardinals, I don't really know him either. And so I thought, I better get to know this fella. And the more I found out about him, the more I liked him. You know, in the actual conclave, which was the 24 hours we were in the Sistine Chapel, he was sitting right in front of me, all right? And I literally saw his shoulders slumping every time we would have a vote. I said, this guy is very sincere. This guy's very humble. This guy did not have some type of strategy to be considered Pope. I think he's as surprised as I was because I didn't even know him. But as our Bible reading yesterday, that Sunday Mass was, this is the way the Lord works. The humble, the overlooked, those that you might not think of right away as being prominent are often the one that the Lord chooses. And I think we got a winner in Leo.
Saw a headline the other day that the Catholic Church has emerged as a bulwark of resistance. And when they say resistance, of course, they mean to the Trump administration. There has been a lot of criticism coming from the American church towards the administration's immigration policy. This is what the head of the U.S. Conference of Bishops said about the deaths of Renee Good and Alex Preddy, and they were examples of the violence that represent failures in our society to respect the dignity of every human life. Do you agree with that?
I would. Yeah, there we go. We're back to the dignity of the human person and the sacredness of human life. Now, look, I go back. I'll be 76 this Friday, so I go back to every president since Truman. There was never one that would get an A+ from the American people, nor from Catholics in the United States, nor from their pastors, their bishops. There's never been one. So there are certain things that Catholic people appreciate that Donald Trump is doing. There are certain things, I think, with the rest of the country that we say, I wish he would change his mind on that. And I think some of the what I would, and my brother bishops would say, might be high-handed tactics by ICE would be one of those we think, try to tone this down. You know the Catholic principle of via media, middle of the road. When it comes to protecting our border, making sure it's strong, when it comes to getting cutthroats and dangerous people out, count on our full support. When it comes to violating of human rights and maybe diluting that magnificent birthright of the United States of having a bias of welcome to the immigrant and refugee, go slow on that. And don't be bothering people that are not a threat. So I think that's the via media we look for. I'm kind of grateful that the president himself has indicated, hey, maybe we went a little too far and is now tempering things. So who knows?
You came to New York, a middle-aged man. You leave
59 when I got here, yeah.
You leave as a cardinal, an older man. What is it that you learn when you grow older in New York? I mean, what does New York teach you about growing older? And is any of it helpful?
Yes. Because you see a lot of people turn older, okay? And I learned, again, the wisdom that, Dolan, you got to return to you got to become a kid again in school when it comes to learning, when it comes to reading, when it comes to thinking, when it comes to questioning, when it comes to conversation, when it comes to taking time to walk and to browse and to stop and to think. So on a Saturday morning a week ago, I didn't have an appointment till noon, and I walked down to Grand Central Station, and I said, oh my Lord, I've been here 17 years. I've gone through Grand Central Station usually on a run to get a train, but I stopped and I did some shopping. I got my shoes shined. I bought a cigar. On the way out, I'm walking back and I see somebody who I know, and we sit down and we begin to converse. And she says, how about a cup of coffee? I said, let's go. I'm thinking, this is retirement. This is the wisdom of getting older, in that you begin to concentrate not so much on tasks, but on on self in the best way, not selfishness, but sort of renewing, reforming yourself and getting to know other selves better. And I think, paradoxically, New York is a good place to discover that, even though it's the most hectic city in the world. There's also a lot of people who are savoring those days and taking a little time. A lot of museums. A lot of libraries.
There's Zen in New York if you want to look for it.
There you go.
I've got a very quick little lightning round that'll take you 30 seconds if you can do it. All right. You're a Cardinals fan. We know that. But in terms of your adopted New York City team, something I've always wanted to know, Mets or Yankees?
I am pro-choice in that particular thing, but I do tend towards the Yankees.
Yeah, a lot of Mets fans would wonder, does God have a problem with the Mets? Does he
No,
take
St.
issue
Jude
with them?
does.
St. Jude does. You know, that happens to be on my patron saint.
Of impossible causes. There you go.
Yes, I know. Something I always wanted to know. Every so often, the church will put out a document and just say, it's like, by the way, tomorrow, if we discover extraterrestrials, that in no way conflicts with church teaching. Why does the church do that?
You wonder, don't you?
Yeah.
Thank God nobody reads them. You obviously do.
I read them. They get
nice to meet you.
Yeah. But you don't know. It's like, it's one of those mysteries. Yeah. Okay. Have you met Mayor Mamdani?
Yes. When he was a candidate, he came in to see me, very courteous visit. And we've after his election, we've chatted by phone.
Which president have you had the best relationship with?
You know, I probably would have spent the most time with Barack Obama. Mm-hmm. Because I was president of the Bishops' Conference. Mm. And not all of them, I found him to be always courteous, but those were kind of more heated exchanges because we were opposed to some of the things that the Obama administration was doing. But the president I've kind of probably have gotten to know best is Donald Trump. Yeah. Because he's a New Yorker. I knew him as a New Yorker. And so.
Do you see him as a guy who sometimes looks deeply in and takes stock of his moral conscience?
Well, yeah. Again, not that I've had a lot of time with him, sure. But the times that I have, I've enjoyed and appreciated. And I would find him, that he would kind of give me the impression that he's often doing some interior analysis and rethinking things.
Final question: if you're interested in becoming a Christian, where is the best place to start?
The best place to start is in your knees in church in front of the tabernacle, the Blessed Sacrament, to say, Lord, I'm interested in becoming one of your followers, one of your disciples. We call that a Christian. And I tell you that I believe that's coming from you because you are the divine initiator. So you must be inviting me to get closer to you. So what do you say you help me out? Because I don't exactly know where I'm going. I think that's a prayer he always answers, especially when you do it humbly, sincerely, and especially when you do it in church, where God is vividly present.
Cardinal Dolan, thank you so much for your time.
Give Peter Alonso and your dear wife my best, okay?
Will do.